Welcome to another AriasWave update. Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about the US dollar or the euro USD, right? Now, obviously, if you don't know, I should tell you the euro is the inverse of the US dollar. It's not exact, okay? So it's not the exact pattern. There are some differences within the pattern. So having been looking at this chart for a long time, basically since before I even looked at cryptos, since the beginning of even uh, discovering the AriasWave pattern, I've always tried to decipher these patterns. So over time, I did come up with a few ways of looking at it, and they make sense in two ways. Now, these are the two options that I had always. Well, this is the current option. Okay, this is the option that I'm going with now, and that's that we're looking at a B wave since 2008. Okay, but the previous one indicated potentially something far worse, right? And it's funny because I still tend to hear people talk about this happening even though it was only one of my ideas. So I really do wonder how people perceive the charts, even if it's in a macro sense, even if it's in a, using bond yields or, money supply, whatever it is, right? For me, it's purely the waves, but I have started diving in deep with the macro stuff, right? Because a lot of stuff started to come to light across the board that started to not make a lot of sense uh, in terms of my US dollar / euro count, right? So let me just give you the current count. Okay, so the current count, um, basically, let's go to the weekly chart for a sec. Okay, so if you have a look at other websites that give you the complete, well, this complete pattern, like FX Top, um, they give you like a bit more historical data, and this to me was more than likely a zigzag since 1985. Right now, you will see that if you look at that, what I just told you, right? FX Top basically gives you historical uh, chart data that may not always be available on TradingView. So anyway, when it comes to AriasWave, you can only have zigzags and 5 wave moves that happen in certain places, right? So if you want to know a little bit more, I made a video on this on the YouTube platform titled "What is AriasWave," right, by Michael Arias, because that's my name. My name's Michael. You can call me Mike. And just remember, I'm not a financial advisor, so just put that underneath there in brackets. Not a financial advisor. Probably should have put that on there. Anyway, so in this particular count, given the lack of historical data, I made the conclusion that if this is a zigzag, then we'd expect another zigzag, right? So I thought, okay, great. Okay, so now I'm telling you the old view. Okay, let's just start with the old view, just because we have the long-term chart. Okay, so I was thinking that was an A wave, the B wave was here, that was the C wave, the D, the E, and then we had to see a move down to make a new low below any of the corrective patterns that you can see that have happened, right? So that there's always going to be that 5 wave move to complete. If this was going to be a larger C wave or a larger 5 wave move, right? So that was the old thinking, right? Now, it can happen, right? It can happen where you get the pattern that it basically forms like a little mini contracting triangle type pattern, right? And then you get this massive thrust to the downside. Okay. So if you've been looking at my Dow Jones analysis, right, that's also had a bit of a change over time to then now come to the conclusion that that pattern's not over yet, right? Because it goes hand in hand. If this was really to go down that hard, then I would definitely say that we're looking at a depression style move down in equities and cryptos even, right? But then because I constantly update my view, because my passion, my obsession is to find the truth and fighting those biases, right? Because we all have those little biases in the back of our minds that say, look, you'd love it if this happened, or wouldn't it be great if that happened? Or for whatever reason, you get it in your head that one or the other is important. But once you get past that, you start to sort of think more openly, and you start to do what you love, and you do it to find the truth, not to find which bias is strongest in your mind. And that's really important. The psychology behind all this stuff is probably one of the most important things that you can have, right? So anyway, in saying that, so the old way of thinking, or the initial first count, was that we had just finished this extremely long um, correction, and now we needed to make a move down to at least 0.62, right? And hey, that could still happen. Except I'm not looking at just one chart. I'm looking at the Dow Jones, I'm looking at the crypto charts, I'm looking at the 10-year bond yields. I'm looking at so many things that I had to figure out if there was another option here, right? And then going back and looking at the Dow Jones and this on very separate occasions, sometimes weeks apart, helped me sort of separate them both, get rid of those biases, and then came to the conclusion that what we're seeing here is not what I just said, right? And we're not really looking for that move down, but instead we are already within a complex zigzag, right? Now, the zigzag is not an expanded one either. Well, it is expanded, but it's not a type 2. It's actually just a type 1, right? Why is it a type 1? Well, because wave E ends exactly at the end of wave A in brackets. So wave A in brackets ended here, and wave E came back after all that expansion to the downside, up and down, and came back and ended right at the end of wave A in brackets, right? So naturally, I'd expect the same length as wave A to be here, causing this move down in wave C in brackets. Okay, so this is the the new count. So I had to go and mind you, this had to happen on both charts, right? So on this chart, it looks very plausible, quite normal compared to the DXY chart. Okay, so that's the complete correction right there, right? Um, so yeah, so at the moment we have not seen a low to confirm that this move down in the euro is complete, right? Because it hasn't not made a low that goes below that January 2017 low in the euro. We have it's become very close, but I do believe there is still a little bit more downside. Okay. Now, it doesn't wave C does not have to be exactly the length of wave A. In fact, sometimes um, it can be shorter. Okay. And we can definitely tell that so far it's weaker wave C is weaker than wave A, right? So if you go back to wave A, which was what happened in the GFC, basically, it was it was a pretty sharp move, right? But you can see already that this is not that sharp. So there's weakness in the market, in that respect. In terms of the actual count here, this is a very choppy move, extremely choppy. I'm not going to give you that count specifically right now. Okay, I will do some work on that, but I wanted to just answer the question because one of the followers asked this question. Martin, thank you. Um, in the previous video that I just uploaded, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, right. So I'll get to that count. Okay. Now, if we want to look at the DXY chart, okay. So taking a look at the DXY chart, yes, we have already made that high. So it can be confirmed. Sorry, I'll get rid of that. Some old analysis on there. Okay, so it can be confirmed. So basically, this hasn't been updated. I think I use a different chart altogether here. So this one should be like the large A, and then the large B should be like here, for example, right? Sorry, I do still have some old markings on here. I will get rid of them. There we go. Okay, so how do you work this one out? So basically, it's like this, right? And I'll try and do this as fast as possible because I don't know, maybe looking at me labeling is not that interesting, or maybe it is. Who knows? So then we have A. Okay, so that there, to me, that's zigzag A right there. Right now, the thing that's really weird on this particular chart is the B wave. Okay, so the C wave of this move is, it's fairly sharp. I mean, look at A. A wave is small, so that's part of the reason why I didn't believe that this particular count made any sense back then. But now there are too many other things that have cropped up that then I can take a look at this and say, you know what, maybe this strange looking B wave is still a B wave, right? So how you want to pull that one apart, it's the odd one out, basically, all right? It's the odd one out. If you know AriasWave, it's the odd one out. And there's probably a very good reason for it, right? It could even be something like the B wave was extremely expanded, right? It could even be that like we had our like a leading uh like a leading like a type 1 week 5 wave move, you know, um 1 2 3 4 5, right? And then basically you have like an A, like a zigzag B, C, D, E, right? I know I made a mess of that, but let me try that again. So like an A, a B, sharp B, zigzag. I mean, look at that in the middle. That's a knot in the middle there. Usually wave threes, that's the sharpest part of the move, but it's not here. Okay. And then you have like a weak C wave, a D, and an E, right? And that would end the correction that started here, and then you'd get that, final C wave for the B wave. I mean, there's enough. You can go ahead and try and pull that apart, but for me, I don't need to do that. Why? Because I call it the odd one out. Every other wave makes perfect sense. You have your C wave, which is a 5 wave move. You have your D wave, which is once again another type 1 expanded zigzag, right? So it's like the whole pattern, the whole zigzag here, what you're seeing here in that D wave, because remember, we're dealing with fractal patterns here. right? A zigzag is a zigzag. There's three types of them. And this one just happens to be very similar, the whole pattern, to the D wave in this move. So just a small note there if you're a wave fanatic like I am, right? So we got the E, and now all we needed to do was get a similar move to wave A, and probably not over yet, right? But very close. Okay, so what I believe is going to happen is that once we do get a complete, um, C wave here, because remember that's A wave, B wave ended here. Now, once again, I'll stress, if you don't know what this means or any of this means, I have made a video that gives you the basics. It doesn't give you all of the variances. It doesn't give you all the all the ins and outs, but it gives you a good clue, at least, so you can think, go, at least you have a resource to go look at, to say, okay, I have a rough idea of what this guy's talking about, instead of having no idea at all, right? So, and that's why obviously I have my premium subscription. If you want to go learn more about it and join the group and find out a whole bunch of stuff and talk to other people who know about this stuff, it's really cool. It's good to be part of a community. I'll work harder on this now, because I think it's getting pretty critical at this point to really know when the US dollar will turn around. Okay. Aside from having the similar length for the C and the A, right? Which, like I said to you, usually it's the same length. Doesn't have to be. Sometimes it could be shorter. Sometimes it could be longer, right? So let me get that count happening over the next couple of days, and then we'll take it from there, right? Because that's gonna give us a big clue. Will that top be part of some kind of news announcement, some kind of economic data that's released, some non-farm payrolls, or some Fed funds rate, FOMC meeting, or some other event that happens, right? We don't know, right? And I don't care, right? But it's just interesting to know that those things can happen, right? Sometimes tops, you sell the news, right? That type of thing. Anyway, so that has a big bearing on, obviously, cryptos, right? And the stock market. Okay. So at this point in time, yes, it looks like, and in fact, if you didn't know the waves, you'd probably think this is the start of a massive, massive rally in the US dollar, because wave one, wave two is the same as this correction. This could be a wave two, right? It could be. All the waves are the same, right? In a correction. That's why I made that video, so you'd sort of go have a look, because you're probably thinking, what is he talking about? And I don't blame you, right? It's not easy, and I know that, because even a lot of my members have trouble with this. So if you think you can do better, then come along and help us all understand it better. Because I try to let them learn on their own. I don't always want to be hand holding, but it's about installing the program in your mind. Okay, once you know how to look at it, becomes second nature. All right, it just takes practice. You can hold someone's hand for a little while, but you can't keep holding someone up while they're trying to learn how to ride a bike, right? Eventually, you're going to have to just push them and let them go, right? So there's a lot of that sort of stuff going on in the group there. But yeah, this is very important, because once this pattern finishes the B wave, right, which is supposed to be the larger B wave, right, size 28 here, what comes next? A massive move to the downside for the DXY, which is wave C, right? And I'm probably going to guess right now that's going to be a pretty sharp move, because wave C's can be pretty sharp. So hopefully you found this video interesting and informative. I'll catch you on the next one.